Hello everyone, this is Remlays from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of 40k Lore for Newcomers. For this episode, nominated on Patreon by Brother Santodes, we will be taking a brief look at the Ogryn Abhuman strain. This video will be a brief overview for certain events that may be explored in greater depth within additional videos in the future. So without further ado, let's begin.
Ogryns. If we time it just right, the Eldar will all be going. What the? Just when what's left of the company breaks cover over here and piles into them. No spreading out, no fancy stuff. Just smash through. Let's see how those degenerate sophisticates handle a healthy dose of pure, unreasoning violence.
Ogryns, also known as Homo sapiens gigantus, are one of the many strains of Abhuman that are found throughout the Imperium. This particular breed of humanity is physically larger, stronger, and more durable than baseline humans, though this increase to their physical prowess has come at the expense of their cognitive abilities. Because of their sheer strength and toughness, the Astra Militarum regularly recruits these Abhumans into the ranks of the Imperial Guard. While Ogryns must be carefully and patiently trained due to being, as some have stated, dumber than a box of rocks, they more than make up for this by excelling in the role of close-range shock assault troops, utilizing their sheer brute strength to beat their enemies into a pulp. Despite their limited intelligence, if one manages to somehow befriend an Ogryn, then they will have an extremely powerful ally that will go to any lengths to protect those that they trust, making Ogryns extremely proficient bodyguards for senior officers throughout the Imperial Guard. Many Ogryns will be inducted into the religion known as the Imperial Cult, becoming devout followers of the God Emperor and displaying an unshakable faith in the Master of Mankind. They will then follow any orders given to them by their commanding officers without question, assuming that they are able to comprehend their instructions. The Ogryns themselves believe that their orders have come directly from the Emperor himself, before being relayed to them via their commanding officer. As a result, Ogryns will undertake any tasks that they are given to the best of their abilities in order to carry out the Emperor's will, making them reliable with somewhat simple-minded soldiers.
Been on a death world once. That was a little bit like home. Most places are better though, and there's regular rations. We get more if the Emperor's really pleased with us.
The Ogryn Abhuman strain can trace its origins back to the period of history known as the Dark Age of Technology. As humanity reached its scientific and technological zenith, the species would begin colonizing numerous worlds throughout the vast expanse of the galaxy. The majority of these worlds, however, would become cut off and isolated from one another following the onset of the Age of Strife, due to an unprecedented increase in warp storm activity that would make long-distance communications and void travel next to impossible. The inhabitants of worlds boasting both a high gravity and freezing temperature would over time be forced to evolve and adapt to their new environments, due to it being impossible to continue obtaining supplies from off-world. To compensate for this higher gravity and colder temperature, the ancestral Ogryns would begin to grow larger and bulkier, developing thick fat, powerful muscles, and a dense bone structure. The traits and mutations developed by these colonists would finally stabilize, resulting in the creation of an entirely new subspecies of humanity, now known as the Ogryn. At least 7 separate variants would be documented throughout the galaxy, all manifesting as a result of convergent evolution, known as Alpha, Theta, Type 4, Type 7a, Gigantus Gigantus, Gigantus Chronopus, and Greys, although it is suspected that other types of Ogryn exist, or at least did exist at some point in time. These physical adaptations would come at the cost of the Ogryns' intelligence, and as a result, the Ogryns would degenerate into a more primitive, Stone Age civilization. While it is unknown as to when the forces of the Great Crusade re-established contact with these Ogryn worlds, these abhumans, despite their physical differences, would be inducted into the ranks of the Imperial Army, where they would serve in a shock assault role that they continue to excel in to this day. The elite regiments of the Solar Auxilia would be assigned a unique type of Ogryn into their ranks, known as the Ogryn Karenites. The Karenites would undergo extensive biochemical alteration and cybernetic augmentation to enhance their already impressive strength. These alterations would allow their handlers to transform these Ogryns from docile giants into rampaging berserkers at the touch of a button. The origin of the technology utilized in the creation of the Karenites is unknown, but it has been suspected to have been of Xenos origin, resulting in the Martian Mechanicum deeming it as unholy. Despite this, Karenites would become an increasingly common addition to the ranks of the Solar Auxilia during the course of the Horus Heresy, where these abhumans proved to be valuable weapons against the traitor Space Marine legions. Despite their potency and prowess upon the battlefield, no more Karenites would be created following the culmination of the heresy, possibly due to such processes being forbidden by the Adeptus Mechanicus. Regardless, baseline Ogryns would continue to fight in service to the Imperium for millennia to come.
No problem. We showed them Skinny Eldar. Come on lads, says I, we're gonna go over there and bury them in their own holes, no worries. There was no worries about cover, cause there wasn't any cover. No worries about timing, cause us lads were first in. Easy as breakfast.
Following the events of the Horus Heresy, the Imperium would grow less tolerant towards mutants and abhumans in general. The Ogryn would be one of the few strains of abhuman that would continue to be tolerated and regularly recruited into the armies of the Imperium, although the process of recruitment would be slightly different for Ogryns when compared to baseline humans. When Ogryns are inducted into the Astra Militarum, they typically do not raise regiments of their own. Instead, Ogryn detachments will be assigned to guardsman regiments from other worlds. Unlike a typical guardsman, Ogryns are not armed with the standard issue lasgun, but instead with a weapon known as a Ripper gun, which is effectively a type of automatic shotgun. These Ripper guns are so named because the recoil of these weapons is so great that it can literally rip the arm off of a regular human should they try to make use of it. It is only because of an Ogryn's brute strength that they are able to make use of such weapons without complaint. Despite the sheer firepower of these weapons, Ripper guns have a limited range. This however suits an Ogryn perfectly, as its natural instincts are to engage its enemies in melee combat, and more often than not, these abhumans will bludgeon their opponents to death with their guns, using them as clubs. Those Ogryns that display a kernel of intelligence, such as the ability to solve problems or greater memory, will often be selected to act as leaders for Ogryn squads. In order to enhance their gifts, these Ogryns will undergo a series of procedures known as Biochemical Ogryn Neural Enhancement, or BONE for short. Those that do undergo this treatment will become affectionately known as Boneheads. Those Ogryns that are noted to be particularly stubborn and obstinate, known as Bullgryns, will be formed into specialist units. Bullgryns are often armed with a variety of assault weapons, such as power mauls and grenadier gauntlets, as well as carrying slab shields and being clad in custom-built carapace armor. In battle, Bullgryns will often lock their slab shields together in order to act as a mobile defense line, using their combination of heavy armor and natural resilience to protect those behind them from enemy fire. While Ogryns are most commonly seen fighting as part of the Astra Militarum, the Imperium is not the only faction to make use of such brutish creatures. The forces of chaos have been known to corrupt Ogryns in order to make use of them in cultist uprisings. Such corruption can be achieved by surgical alteration, demonic possession, or simply by pumping them full of drugs in order to transform them into violent, unstoppable brutes. Ogryns have even been known to fight alongside orc warbands, due to the Ogryns allegedly finding the green-skinned Xenos race to be amusing. Those that do fight as part of an orc warband will often come from feral Ogryn tribes, although this isn't always the case. Some Ogryns will even be lobotomized and augmented with a series of mechanical prostheses, becoming cyborg slave machines known as servitors, where they will be used to perform tasks too physically demanding for more traditional servitors. As a result of their evolution on cold, high-gravity worlds, Ogryns have become far larger than baseline humans. On average, Ogryns stand between 7 to 8 feet in height, making them as tall, if not taller, than a member of the Adeptus Astartes. Despite being a similar height to a space marine, Ogryns are much bulkier organisms as a result of their layers of subcutaneous fat and dense muscle. The sheer bulk of an Ogryn also provides them with a measure of resistance against small caliber arms fire. This increase in size, while granting them great strength, also renders Ogryns somewhat clumsy, making them incapable of performing more delicate tasks. While Ogryns are said to be fearless brutes, this strain of abhuman does frequently display one particular fear: claustrophobia. As such, Ogryns will never choose to willingly enter locations such as tight corridors, basements, or the confines of an armoured transport out of their own volition, though they can be ordered to do so by a trustworthy and particularly patient commanding officer. And that concludes this episode of 40k Lore for Newcomers. If you liked this video, consider supporting us on Patreon for more content. To those who are new to 40k, we hope you learned something. So leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.